Yeah.
Good. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Jim Carrey Project. I am your host, Brian Kondrach, and with me, as always, is
Carrie Grant.
And today, we just finished watching Dumb and Dumber. I really don't have to say much about this one, except, what'd you think?
I've never seen Dumb and Dumber. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
I'm kidding. Who've never seen it?
No, it's good. Obviously it's classic.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
It is. There's something about this movie that, it still stands the test of time very well.
Yeah, it does.
There's still a lot of stuff that you get to pick up on seeing it for
Oh,
the first
yeah.
time in years. I don't know the last time I saw it that wasn't on TV. And it's really
That's true.
just a great final movie for the year of Jim Carrey. So
Yes.
this movie, Jim Carrey's Dumb and Dumbers, was directed by Peter Farrelly. Produced Charlie Wessler, Brad Crevoy, Steve Sabler. Written by Peter Farrelly, Bobby Farrelly, and Bennett Yellen. But then it's starring Jim Carrey, Jeff Daniels, Lauren Holly, Karen Duffy, Mike Starr, Charles Rocket, and Terry Garr. It was released on December 16th, 1994.
It was a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it was very much a Christmas, a family Christmas movie.
It was. It came on December 16th, you said?
Yeah.
It's totally Christmas.
That's fun.
Yeah.
So, really.
Well, it's wintry and kind of fun.
It takes place in the mountains and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about it. It's so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
We've watched Jim Carrey as Ace Ventura recently. We watched as The Mask. And something that I noticed about this one is that even though he's such an absurd character, he's still so very authentic in that, what he does.
believe
and
that's him.
This guy could really, really exist somewhere in the world out
totally,
here.
yeah.
Your friend, my friend, someone that we kind of know from before, or some college or high school kid that we all know at some point.
Yeah.
So it's real funny to watch him, just how absurd the character is, and yet how authentic he is in this one.
Well, you know what I think also makes it a little more authentic, and it's been a long time since I've seen it, and probably it's been, on TV. It was on TV, back in the day and everything. So, he's a little bit of an ass.
Yeah.
And I think it grounds him a little bit more too, because he is and doesn't really know he is, and I'm not even sure.
Yeah. No.
If Harry knows it. I think Harry knows it sometimes. I don't know. It's weird.
I think it's funny.
I don't remember that part of it.
Of him being kind of a jerk to people.
Yeah.
He is. But I really guarantee, I really believe that it's because he doesn't know. He's got no self-awareness about how he makes other people feel or how other people react around his actions or anything like that.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point of it, is that they're
But
dumb
that makes it more
and dumber.
authentic.
Yeah.
I think, like you said,
Exactly.
he is very authentic in that. So, not self-aware in who he is.
Is it hard to talk about this movie just because it's so fun and it's just so straightforward and dumb? There's nothing
There's not a whole
authentic
lot
about it, or is it just
I think honestly that's probably why the acting is impressive, because they do make it look really easy and really authentic.
Yeah.
But we know these people are not really like that, and so even with Jeff Daniels, I always think of it as a Jim Carrey movie a bit, but Jeff Daniels held his own for sure, and I was actually even more impressed with his acting, just because I kind of you don't think about him as much, or when you remember it, you don't always remember. So, for me, at least, I don't remember as much. But I thought he doesn't do quite as many faces and things, but the stuff that he does is really funny and really
cross-eyed
good.
faces.
Yeah,
of course, the bathroom scene, just the
way he laughs,
yeah.
he the character stays the same the whole time, which
he really personifies
is good too.
it
Yeah.
quite well. Did you do any research on this one?
No, I didn't.
No.
No.
So it's funny that you did bring up Jeff Daniels being so subdued compared to someone like Jim Carrey. But one of the interesting things about this movie is that Jim Carrey wanted Jeff Daniels.
Oh, did he?
He wanted him because he was a serious actor at the time. He was not really into comedies at that point. He was someone who Jim Carrey said could keep him grounded compared to the antics of his Lloyd Christmas character.
Sure.
And what's funny about that is that all of the people that were casting and helping to produce this film were like, no, Jeff Daniels, don't do this. you're gonna kill your career.
Yeah.
No one's gonna take you seriously as a serious actor anymore.
Yeah.
And this thing is just gonna flop because it's so. I mean, the title is Dumb and Dumber. Like,
Right.
It's gonna flop. Like,
yeah.
There's so many people telling him not to do it. He actually even only got paid $50,000 for it.
Who? Jeff?
Jeff Daniels
What?
only got $50,000 for it compared to the $7 million
What?
that Jim Carrey
That's not
got.
right.
Well, Jim Carrey had 2 #1 movies that year already, and it was
Wow.
Ace Ventura and everything when the
still,
negotiations were made.
That's crazy.
So yeah, Jeff Daniels was like, yeah, he read the script. He was very into it, thought it was going to be an absolute fun time, but his agents were like, no, don't do this.
Yeah.
And Jeff Daniels was like, it's my decision. If it makes me look bad, then I'm going to be the one that's
it's
responsible
my life.
for that.
Yeah.
So, and then it turned into one of the greatest cult classic comedies that I think we have of our generation.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
Has Jeff Daniels done a lot more comedy, like real strong comedy like this?
I'm not 100% sure on that one. I feel like he probably has leaned into it a little bit more after this one.
Yeah.
I could look that up.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. The other day, the kids watched Because of Winn-Dixie, and he was like the dad in that one, and it wasn't funny. I mean, he wasn't supposed to be funny in that one, but...
Yeah. I know he's done a bunch of comedy, but I think he's done a lot more drama stuff, TV,
I feel like
and
that's
drama
his thing,
and things like that.
But
I
it
mean,
does
he was
show
in
that he
The
could
Martian.
do it.
He was in, I don't know, a lot of stuff. He's been probably all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we don't know him. Yeah.
he's
I
a
just
very
don't really
versatile
remember
actor.
him going this far in anything else. But
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
This was this was the weird thing that he did, you know?
This is what changed, changed
Yeah,
it.
but I think it's good he did.
It's funny, he jokes, I've seen him in interviews, and he's joked about stuff where his bathroom scene is basically what's going to be on his Oscar reel from now on, because it's just so iconic, and it's so dramatic, and it's like, oh. So let's just go through some notes and some things that we got. So if you haven't seen the movie, which I don't know why you haven't seen the movie,
go see
because
it.
it is a cult classic. It is a great movie.
Rent it right
Hilarious.
now.
Yeah, and if you're bored, just rent it.
And I will say, like, just
there's
the joy of it was so good today. Like,
Yeah.
there was, it's easy to watch. Even like the bad parts, like they cut away even sometimes in a nice way where I don't want to see that and think, the bird, but it doesn't show it. So, it's bad because you're like, ugh.
It is.
But not seeing things to me is a nice thing when it's supposed to be a comedy. I don't want to see the bad stuff. And it was very enjoyable in that respect. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is a toilet humor movie.
Yes.
But it's done in such
Somewhat.
a way that it is, not overly the top disgusting. There's definitely
There's moments.
the bathroom. Like, you keep coming to the bathroom scene, but it is such an iconic scene that
it is. That's all everyone you remember if you haven't seen it in a while.
There's some crude stuff going on there, but what really, what I love about this movie and watching it again now, and actually I've got notes to take, and I'm looking at it from a cinematographer's point of view, a filmmaker's point of view, the way they tie everything together seems so well done.
Yeah.
And it's this is actually one of the Farrelly brothers first
I thought it was
film, which is absolutely incredible that they were able to pull this off and be so tight with what they were doing in it.
Yeah.
The fact that when you first meet the two characters, you see you're following the limo as it's coming through town, and then we stop and there's Harry, at the dog thing, and it kind of creates this whole other scene.
Yeah.
But then, it all comes back where they're both fired at the end, and it's it ties so well there.
Is.
And then, the doing challenges against one off the other, double daring each other, and having that trust in each other just builds up throughout the movie too.
Yeah.
It's
you
fun.
learn, you get more and more insight into their relationship as the movie goes on, about how they were friends in high school, and they have had this sort of weird. I haven't seen the prequel one.
Yeah,
but
I have not either.
Yes, but you can imagine why someone would have wanted to make that movie, because you can see these two guys being in high school, being just these crazy.
How did they even graduate?
Idiots,
How did they even graduate?
I feel like we probably all have someone in our high school who was those two over there, and they find someone who is like them and bonded, and it's sweet in that way. They have a friend. Yeah, everyone needs a friend.
Yeah,
even those
and once
guys.
you find the one that you match up with, you just kind of hold on to it for a while.
No, you're right. They did a really good job of pulling all kinds of different elements, and the storyline just flows really easily. And yeah,
there's a lot of elements of pop culture in this movie that they wrote really well into it. A lot of the lines that Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels like have in there are very clearly like references and stuff. If you're familiar with them, you know, I like it a lot. I like it a lot, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough written down.
Do they do Silence of the Lambs thing in there?
Yeah, the nice bottle of Chianti and stuff. It's everything's these classic lines, but just slightly off because that's just kind of how they work.
Almost makes it their own thing because of it, you know?
Yeah, it's fun. There's
you know, one thing that I wrote down that I really enjoy too, talking about just how it all works. I mean, it's to me, and again, I've said this before, but it's those little clever side jokes that are just happening constantly, and it just keeps. There might be a little bit slower point. There might be not a big crazy whatever outfit or toilet scene or whatever. Just so they're having a conversation or something's happening, and just those little jokes just always I don't know. They just make me so happy. And there's so many here, and they're so clever.
Yeah, it's like I wish I had written a lot more down because it's.
Yeah, I think I only wrote. Even just like when they first meet up and he says, I fell off the jetway again. And I'm like, and that's, I mean, maybe Jim Carrey even said it himself. I don't know. It was really funny. There was another one.
This movie came out, I was going into high school. And I really have a very clear recollection of almost all of my friends before I saw this being able to quote almost the whole thing, especially like my brother's friends. Where it's like big gulps, eh? Well, see you later. Like this is such a quotable movie, and it's no surprise that it turned into like the deep cult classic that it is. Even though it never feels like it's a cult classic, it feels like it is just a ridiculous comedy that you can watch over and over again.
I think of a cult classic as something that wasn't popular at the time that people found later on, and this was popular from the beginning. I'm guessing we haven't got to that point.
It was slightly panned by critics, but it was...
Well, of course, it's Dumb and Dumber. But I'm pretty sure over those holidays, that holiday season when it opened, there was plenty of people going and paying, and I can see... Quoting movies like that is such a high school boy thing anyway.
It's
like
how
they
you
just do
communicate.
it. Yeah.
It's how they communicate with each other.
And you make each other laugh, and you all and then you're on the same page. You get it. And then I'm always like the girls, like every once in a while I get it. I'm like, oh it's funny.
But it's like it's how we actually communicate.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to say feelings or words. I could just quote a movie that conveys all of the things that I have right there.
That's funny. I never thought of it that way.
Everything a teenage or adolescent boy needs can be found in the quotes of comedy movies or some dramas that will get him through.
I wonder if there's any
life.
dissertation written on that. I bet if there's not, there should be anybody out there who's studying, getting their doctorate, something. Yes.
I'm gonna talk to my therapist about it and be like, do you know anyone that's into this kind of stuff?
Yeah. That'd be such a fun dissertation. If you had to write a dissertation, that'd be a fun one.
Let's talk a little bit more about the Farrelly brothers. If you didn't know that this was a Farrelly brothers movie or who they were,
I wouldn't have known at the time who they were. No one.
But no, because this was their first one. But knowing now, would you go in and see this movie and be like, whoever made this movie is gonna go pretty far? We know Jim Carrey's gonna go far. Jeff Daniels, he's not bad in this movie, but he's definitely not the focus. But would you think that the directors would be like, no, we'll see a lot more from them?
I think so. I think it was something that people weren't doing a whole lot of yet. We kind of came out of the 80s of all the Brat Pack and all that kind of stuff, which is sort of the teen angst and all that kind of stuff. And this was a genre, I think, that appealed to, I'd say teenagers, but particularly teenage boys or young adult males. Or really adult males too. Anyone with a silly, but
you have
it
a penis.
It was a sense of humor. Exactly. There was a type of sense of humor that they had that they were appealing to that I don't think was out there much.
No.
So when you see it, you're like, this is new. What is this?
The number of physical gags and visual gags, and of course the writing of it was just
clever too. Yeah.
So good. I do not necessarily agree that this wasn't out there, but this is because I know that Jim Carrey takes a lot of his influences from Jerry Lewis, and we've talked about that in previous episodes and stuff. But in this one, he very much was, I think, trying to channel a lot more Jerry Lewis, and a lot of Jerry Lewis's older movies have this same kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Where the great visual gag, where in the bellhop he has the chore of lining out the chairs, and he like does these long walks across the room and long walks that just are real funny. I mean, one of the things that's so funny in this one is like the airbag at the very beginning of the movie when he crashes.
Yeah. It's
not just like a normal size airbag, but it's just this absurdly large thing that like Jim Carrey can't even get out of.
Right. But since Jerry Lewis, there was a break between Jerry Lewis and this. There wasn't a lot going on right before this, though. You're right. I felt like it got pulled back a bit in.
What's that guy's name? Hughes? The guy who you said the Brat Pack, the Breakfast at
John
Tiffany's.
Hughes, isn't it? John Hughes?
Is it? That's the director,
I think
the writer?
so. Yeah, it's Hughes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. You're right that it is.
It's not what they were doing.
It's
not what they were doing for comedies that might appeal to the teenage audience or whatever. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it has been around before, but it was sort of brought back in a different, not completely different way, but in a modern way, and also maybe more juvenile way a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I guess if you think about it, those are kind of...
Yeah, any of the... What is it? How am I going blank on his name? We just said it. The guy who did Breakfast at 70...
I'm pretty sure it's Hughes,
I mean, they very much had a very adult feel to all of their like teenage kind of life antics or whatnot. Ferris Bueller was antics, but like...
that was a little more...
What is it? The Breakfast Club was very much like...
I mean, there was some... fun parts, but not silly. I wouldn't call most of those silly.
No.
I see your point with the Jerry Lewis thing, like kind of having those sort of visual. I always think of like slapstick as in like falling down, which there is a little bit of that, but you're right. It's sort of the absurd, which is clever and funny. I think lots of times. So I mean.
It's fun.
It's good. Yeah,
it's a fun movie, and it's hard to talk about a comedy like this sometimes because you get so involved in like just drawn in with just having a fun time in it.
I couldn't write much down because everything was just kind of coming in and enjoying it all, and like there wasn't much to think about, like or critique in any way. I knew what it was gonna kind of be like already, and it was good.
4.5 stars. It's a highly rated comedy. It's interesting. Let's talk a little bit about Jim Carrey himself, the person. At this point, he has become very well known from In Living Color, very well known from Ace Ventura, very well known from The Mask. He's to a point that I was reading about earlier that he's getting recognized for his fame and started to be like, ooh, what can we get you, Mr. Carrey? But also, can you do that thing that you do, make that face and dance for us at the same time? So apparently he was already before or while he was filming this, he had gotten divorced from his wife at the time, and when he met Lauren Holly, they had like an instant connection where they were both like going through the same kind of thing, and now they found each other and they were making each other laugh so much that they actually ended up getting married at the end of this.
Right. After they filmed?
Yeah.
Before the movie came out, though?
I don't know when exactly they got married, but I know it was around the time that the movie was being done.
Yeah.
And then they had like a short-lived marriage before they actually got divorced. But during that conversation, that thing that I was reading, it was like having these movies and these characters, Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Lloyd Christmas, Jim Carrey was like unable to sit still at home, which was like, I can't relax. I've got all these energy, this high characters that are just like so extreme that I cannot sit still. And it was just like, I can't understand how people just don't do things like all the time. Like they're not constantly moving. They're not constantly like out in motion.
Do you think it's because he was working so much, like back to back to back, and there just wasn't enough of a break to come down?
Yeah.
Because every character, you're right, had a lot of energy, so he never... And when you're in a role like that, you are in it all the time.
Especially
I don't
with
know
someone
if he does...
like him, where it's not method acting, but he very much like gets involved in those characters.
Yeah, and it's always there. And if you don't have a break in between to like reconnect reconnected in, then you don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
So.
It seems like it would be very stressful because we've both been in shows that are like high energy,
right?
And it's hard to step out of them.
Yeah.
What else was going on?
I could see why that marriage didn't last.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, they were both probably in a spot where it just wasn't working for them, and then or, in their own marriages, and then
of course you're
like, this is fun. Let's do this.
You make me feel so good that it's gonna go to this peak and then crash right back down.
Totally.
Something funny that I did read about this movie too that gives you a lot of connections to some of the other movies that Jim Carrey's been in. Mm-hmm. First and foremost, the bad guy. Okay. Spoilers. He was also the bad guy in Earth Girls Are Easy. He was the doctor that Gina Davis, that was cheating on Gina Davis.
Oh, you're right.
Earth Girls Are Easy.
You're right.
So he's got that connection with that movie already. This was supposed to take place in Aspin, but Aspin is very expensive to film in. Yes. And so most of it took places in Utah and Breckenridge.
I thought it looked like Breckenridge. I kept saying that looked like Breckenridge.
It was. It's definitely Breckenridge. Okay. But do you know where the other place was?
No.
Copper Mountain, Colorado.
Oh, really?
So he's done two films in the snow in Copper Mountain.
That's weird.
And it's like the only thing we needed was somewhere to have Alan Thicke in the background or something. Just
that would have been a good cameo. That would have been a great cameo.
But it's like at that time of these films like this in the 90s, I don't think cameos like that were always supposed to be a thing. I did read that Mel Gibson was supposed to play the husband because in the 94 he was Mr. Heartthrob.
Oh, right.
And it's like, of course,
and it's like that one in a million. Line.
It would have been like, there's no way that Lloyd Christmas could deal with this one.
That would have been funny.
It was real funny. And
he spent a lot of time in the mountains at that time,
he's definitely enjoying it. I just thought that was really, really funny about that. There's so many little things. There's so many trivia things about this that we can go through for over and over and over again. Like if you go on IMDb and you start looking at it, you said you thought the one woman was
I'm pretty sure
the woman from It's All Something About Mary.
Yeah.
Who'd you say it was?
It was
Mrs. Lugenborgen, the woman at the beginning with the dogs and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's her.
That is.
Yep. Yeah. She was
Mary.
they made her look so old and there's something about Mary. So it took a second to see, but her face, I could tell from her face structure and stuff. Yeah.
This is the beginning of the Farrelly Brothers universe. Right here. So they're going to keep
we
bringing
like you.
The same people
Come on.
in.
She got a much bigger role in Something About Mary.
It's so funny. I would love to work with them. They would seem like it would be such a fun set to work on and stuff. There's so many.
I love even a little part like that. Sometimes having the smaller part, but the funnier part is it's really fun too. Yeah. Like she is in that movie. Yeah, this one she didn't say much.
No, she got to yell at Jeff Daniels for a little bit.
That's true.
It's great. So, let's jump into some ratings real fast. What would you give this as a rating, as a movie?
Why do I always go first?
Because I always ask you what you think about it.
I think, gosh, I mean, it is what it is. It's solid. It's like a 9, I think. Yeah. It holds up. My kids, I always can't help it because I'm always thinking of what can they watch at home. But I almost think they could watch this. There was a little bit of gun violence, but but it was okay in the end, and there was a little bit of other violence, and then I guess the guy dies. That's probably not good when he has the stomach thing and the poison. But like I said, they do cut away a lot. So I mean, if it was just a little bit better, that'd be great. A little bit cleaner, but
not for kids. Not necessarily
not for kids. Yeah, but it's actually, I think, and it's not.
PG-13,
I don't think it has to be 13. I think you could watch this at 11 or something like that. I wouldn't want my 7-year-old watching it or something.
It's a little bit different.
But 9 for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely. I'm right there, 9.5.
Yeah.
It's still a great comedy. It still stands the test of time. It's got a lot. What's funny about the ratings is I was reading that, was it Siskel or Roger Ebert? Gave it only 2 out of 4 stars for the hit or miss comic elements, but praised the performances of Carrie and Daniels, which they make it feel like it's a bromance. These are best friends and as honest and even though it's crazy.
I'm telling you, it's hard to act like that sometimes. Yeah. That is not easy.
Roger Ebert said he gave it only 2 stars, but was so embarrassed because he could not stop laughing about the dead parakeet joke.
Oh no!
Where they give the blind kid with the bird.
Pretty bird.
And it's
bird.
You're a professional film critic, one of the most renowned film critics, and you can't stop laughing at this bird with scotch tape around its neck. I don't know if we can trust you as a rating as a critic anymore at that point.
Actually, that makes me happy that they would think that, because everyone can have those moments of thinking it's stupid or thinking it's silly and funny.
Yeah,
you know,
throughout the whole thing, you can change it.
I could watch this another day and be like, oh, really?
Yeah,
but
I
like
can't
today,
believe it's
it
on
was
TV.
delightful. Yes.
Yeah, it's fun. So they had a budget originally of $17 million.
Oh wow, it's big.
It was
big for,
fairly big. What was
huge,
the mask was less than that.
I think so.
The mask was like $13 million,
Yeah.
which is kind of like that's a lot of people. That's a lot of stuff. I get travel in Colorado, filming in Colorado. It grossed $247 million, $0.3 million, and it was the third #1 movie for Jim Carrey that year.
Wow.
It is
that really is the year.
How insane is that? That this guy who's been working his butt off for years. But like when you get a break in Hollywood, you sometimes just like you get a break and it just lasts forever.
Well, that's what they say. You got to be prepared for that moment.
You've been working.
You know?
It's not just luck. It's
it's years and years of preparation, and then when you get a little luck coming your way, then you're ready for it. And that's what he was. He was ready for it, and he was mature enough, I guess, to handle it and go with it and make the most of it. And good for him. He
nailed it. Some of the awards that it got, I made a note to remind myself of that one. The kiss between, was it Lauren Holly and Jim Carrey won the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award for MTV Best Kiss of the Year.
His mouth gets so big. He
has
a big mouth anyway.
It's so gross.
Yeah, he like eats her face.
This is such a funny movie.
Yeah.
There's
and I would just think, how many takes would you? Luckily, they liked each other, but how many takes do you have to get so wet like that? It's nasty.
All right, wipe it off. Makeup, we need to come in. That's the thing is how many times does the makeup have to be fixed on that?
Do it again and again.
Lipstick everywhere, makeup, foundation, and everything.
Yeah, it's probably fun and kind of funny for a couple times, but by like the 15th time, you're like, oh, okay.
It's starting to chap. Yeah. There's Vaseline everywhere.
Exactly.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a pretty quick episode. I think we've kind of touched on a lot. We didn't talk about the soundtrack. Farrelly Brothers seem to be very good at becoming with their soundtracks.
I like the soundtrack.
Something About Mary soundtrack is
really
fun.
Good too.
This the soundtrack is surprisingly good. They've got.
It's like there's stuff I think some of those songs might not have been out at the time. Maybe they were sort of coming out. Like that first one, I was like, I don't know, Boombastic or something. I don't know. It's kind of reggae sounding. I don't really remember that song from before, but when you hear it, that's like such a catchy song, and it fits so well. And you're like, I like that song. What is that? And that's more like back then people would have new music for that. But then they have some oldies too, and the Farrelly Brothers always have a few like kind of oldie songs in there. But they pick really really cute ones. Yeah, really like ones you're like, oh, I know that song. That's fun.
It's such a difficult thing to do. So
it is
music.
Yeah.
This movie had spawned. This is the second movie to spawn an animated series for Jim Carrey's characters. First was the Ace Ventura had its own animated show.
Really?
This one had an animated series. Has a prequel, which is When He Met Lloyd, which does not even have Jim Carrey or them in it. Oh no, and my computer just died.
No,
so yay!
Okay. That sad face on there.
I know, right?
We're about done anyway.
Hopefully that audio is saved somewhere on there.
Yes.
Otherwise, we've got this audio. So let's just go ahead and wrap this up now.
Yeah.
So that's an omen. It's like we should probably get done with this one.
Yeah.
So anyway, this was Dumb and Dumber. This is the Jim Carrey Project. I'm your host, Brian Kondrach.
And Carrie Grant.
And this was Dumb and Dumber. Join us next time as we sit down and we go in the 1995 film, Batman Forever.
I don't think I've seen this one.
You've never seen Batman Forever?
So new for me.
This is the third Batman that came out in the 90s.
We'll see. I don't remember.
Or late 80s. So it is a fun movie. It is cheesy as hell.
Okay.
But thank you guys for tuning in and watching or listening to us. Check out our other videos. Please like, subscribe, and maybe leave a review or comment and see what your favorite part about this movie was. And then tune in and check us out next time. So we'll see you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Later.